What's up guys? Today's video is going to be all about the DEP meeting that I attended in Cedar Rapids, Iowa when I was home on leave. I had some great questions that were asked. I definitely feel like this is very, very important information. So I hope you guys enjoy the video.
Most of you guys know Kyle Gott, I think, because I tell you guys if you want to get information about the Air Force, check out his YouTube channel. So Kyle Gott is actually from here.
How many of you guys actually research what you're getting yourselves into? Hopefully everybody in here. Because if you're not, you should go home tonight, get on the computer, and look up everything that you have a question for. But if you have any questions right now, feel free to ask, because that's what I'm here for. So the main difference is, obviously with the 6 year, you're going to get the promotion to A1C, which is E3, right after you graduate your tech school, or after 20 weeks?
20 weeks.
20 weeks. So that's pretty much the big thing right there. So if you're coming straight out of high school and you don't have college credits or anything, that's the big incentive. All in all, it gives you a 6-month jump start on promotion. So you'll be 6 months ahead of your peers until testing for staff. And then when testing for staff happens, that's on you, because you actually have to know your job, and then you're going to test over Air Force knowledge. So pretty much you got to study to make staff. So at that point, it's no longer on, oh, I've just been in longer than other people. It can become a thing of, like, I just put on staff and I've been in for 4.5 years, and there are people that have been in for 6, 7 years that are still senior airmen. So I'm in E5 right now, and some people are still in E4, but they've been in longer than I have. So that's when it becomes after that, you have a 6-month head start on those people, but then after that, after you've been in the Air Force about 2.5, 3 years, it starts to become your responsibility to promote yourself.
I always say for people who are on that fence, they kind of don't know if this is a career path for, or it's going to be a long career path for them. Do the 4. You may get in and you may get a job that you want to do in the civilian world, and you get the skills that we provide, and you want to get out and go do it immediately in the civilian world. You got 6 years, you know, you got to wait that extra 2. But if you know, like, this is what you want to do, like, this is want to do it, I want to support my country, I want to retire, do 6. Take the incentive, take the extra stripes, take the extra money.
Something I want to stress is don't feel like you have to do 20 years, because you don't want to be in a position where you feel like you have to do it even if you don't enjoy it, which I think it's like 12% of people actually do 20 years, 12 or 14%. So it's actually, when you go to BMT, everybody's going to be like, oh, I'm here for 20. Like 95% of the people at BMT are going to say, I'm here for 20, but you'll see after your first enlistment, they're like, half the people I went to basic training with are like either out or planning on getting out. And then everyone else is re-enlisting. So half the people I went to BMT with are going to re-enlist their first time. And then over time, people either come up with other things they want to do, or they cross-train, or they end up getting a civilian job. So for instance, my career field, aircraft structural maintenance, I'm stationed at Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas. And we actually have a sheet metal shop, my same job, that is civilian contracted for the F-15s, F-16s, A-10s, and for my career field at Nellis, we only work on the HH-60 helicopters. So active duty only works on the helicopters, but the civilians, contractors, work on all the other airframes on the base. So there are actually guys at my shop that will get out and then become a civilian contractor. So they're still hired by the military, by DOD, but they're just a civilian now. So they can come to work with a beard, they can grow their hair out, they just still have to follow the regulations as far as doing maintenance works, but they're hired from a separate company, but they work under DOD. So there's still a lot of stuff you can do once you get in, you get that knowledge. The military likes to try to keep people in, even if they get out active duty. You can always have a contracting spot, which honestly usually makes more money. I would definitely do your research on your career fields though, because I am aircraft structural maintenance, and most of the time when you look it up, they'll say the requirement is 5 or 6 years experience.
Yeah.
You sign a 4-year, you're going to struggle to find a job, as opposed to you sign a 6-year, you're pretty much guaranteed a contracting job once you do 6. So that's like the best thing for us is, like, if you know, hey, I'm going to love maintenance because that's what I want to do, or whatever career field, if you're going to medical or whatever, look into, hey, I want to do this, I'm getting the opportunity to do it in the Air Force, and you want to do it as a civilian, definitely do your research to know what are the requirements to do that as a civilian.
Same thing for other career fields, like even if you're not in maintenance, get the certifications that the Air Force provides you while you're in, so that way when you go out into the civilian world, you have all the certifications plus the experience.
Plan ahead. So if you know, like right now, what you want to do, if you're going into the Air Force to do the same thing, but you're like, I think I might want to do it as a civilian instead, work as hard as you can right now to build up that resume, to get yourself set up, so 4 years from now, You don't have to worry about, oh, I'm competing with these people for a job. You already know I got the job. If you work for something and you set yourself up for it, especially like don't start working like a week ahead of time, but if you start planning 4 years ahead of time, it's just like when you sign up for college, you usually decide your major, so that way your whole 4 years you're working towards that major. You're going to accomplish that goal in 4 years. But if you just go to college for 2 years, I don't know what I'm going for, and then you take some time off, it's going to take you longer to accomplish that. So as soon as possible as you decide this is what I want to do, so even like re-enlistment, if you plan on re-enlisting, study Air Force knowledge, get in the PDG, and study your job, volunteer, ask them what they're looking for, because if you want to do 20 years, your EPRs for is 10 years, right, when you go up for master. Something you do as a senior airman might affect your board score when you're going up for master.
Yeah.
So that's what's super important is if you want to stay in, like it's that pre-planning, work ahead. So like if you want to get out, know what you're going to do, have a plan. And if you want to stay in, have a plan. Like that's my biggest thing I can stress is people that want to stay in, like work hard for it, because you're going to be competing with other people that are working hard for it. So especially like board score, you're going to be going up 2 years from now.
Yeah, for master.
Yeah, for master. So he's going to be competing with other people, and there's going to be chiefs looking. There's going to be chiefs looking at comparing them, going who's better, and it's going to be who's better on paper. So that's what's most important is you, if you want to stay in, make sure you're setting yourself up. Like have that paper trail saying, I did this for the Air Force, I did this, I did this. But if you want to pursue something else, have a track record of, hey, I did this, I have my building blocks to put me where I want to be.
So I did an extension so I could go to school. Once I finished school, I re-enlisted and got the bonus.
You can also do extensions too, which is something that like a lot of people don't know. It's like you think, oh, I re-enlist, or I have to re-enlist, or I have to get out. You can also extend within reason.
Yeah.
Like, so
you
you have to have
a
a reason for it. So for him, it was to complete your tech school. So that was a reason that's legitimate of my contract ends before tech school, but I want to extend it out past my tech school.
Yeah.
So that you can run into that, like people will have reasons. So like a common thing is for like manning. Some people will just extend because the base will be undermanned.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, hey, I want to extend for 6 months or a year because of manning issues right now. I was there for 4 months when we found out at like our 3.5 month mark. But I was also there during sequestration and like, there was a whole bunch of stuff going on financially. Yeah, so it was like, orders were delayed. Like, find out sometime in tech school from the first week you're there till you graduate.
Yeah.
Some point it's hit or miss. So,
yeah.
Like I said earlier, there's no one answer for anything in the Air Force. So
now,
definitely be aware of that. So when you get there, they're going to have all the different career fields, and it'll tell you what bases are available. So if you go there with this list of I want to be at these bases, but those aren't available for your job, you're going to get there and get a pick and be like, oh, I don't even know anything about these other bases.
Yeah.
So that's why it's super important. Definitely look ahead, because you don't want to get there to pick out your base and expect that I'm going to one of these 8 places, and then your job doesn't even go to those bases, period. So for instance, my job can go almost anywhere. I can't go to every single base, but I can go almost everywhere. Yeah. And like security forces, pretty much everywhere.
Computer jobs.
I was just saying, I don't think there's a single base that doesn't have security forces personnel on it. Yeah. But there are some certain like medical jobs. You can't go to every single base. Or there's like sensor operators.
Can't go everywhere.
You go to like four bases worldwide. Really like that's it. So if you are like expecting to be like, oh, I want to go anywhere in Texas and Louisiana, and then it's like, well, your job can't go there, period. But if that's all you were hoping for, and you hadn't done your research on that job beforehand, you're going to go to pick out that base and then be like, why are none of these on my list?
Because you can't.
So because it's not available for it.
So another thing as well. So kind of research where you can go. Also, when you get there, I tell most of my guys this: don't be stubborn and list 1 or 2 places and think you're going to get that 1 or 2 places. You might get lucky. I did. I was the stubborn kid in basic training who listed one job, one location. I listed Herbertville, Florida, right? It's the only thing I listed. I got it. I didn't know how stupid it was until I got in the Air Force and I realized, oh snap! If they didn't have that place available for me, they would have sent me anywhere that they needed me. That's how the Air Force works.
You should have played Powerball that day.
Yeah. I had no idea, right? I was just like, I want to go to Herbertville. And they were like, anything else? And I was like...
You'll never hear another person tell that same story ever.
Yeah. So I actually...
Probably one of the only people.
It worked for me. So don't be stubborn like that. I didn't know, but now that I know, I was like, oh my God, that was so lucky. If you only list 4 locations and they don't have your 4 locations, Air Force will send you wherever they need people.
You will get the last option.
Yeah.
So they'll take everyone that didn't have something on their list that matched, and they'll go, here's everything that's still left, and they'll just start giving it away. Yeah. So definitely utilize your spots.
Yeah. And also with that, don't list like all dream locations. It's called a dream sheet, but I mean, don't list like the best places in the world. Like when you're listing Hawaii, Guam, Italy, Texas.
It's easier
Florida.
with overseas because there's only a select few overseas locations, but stateside, it can get kind of hard sometimes if you're like, oh, I'm gonna pick all like the coolest ones I've ever heard of. Like, guess what? You're not the only one.
Yeah, everybody.
So if you got 100 people trying to go to the same spot, but there's only 2 spots available, that's why a lot of people, I don't know if you guys like see online, a lot of people complain about, oh, it's a dream sheet, they don't actually care. But I mean, if 2 people are going to get this spot and 100 people want it, obviously there's going to be 98 people that are upset about it. So that's why you're hearing the majority of people are like, oh, I don't get what I want, but majority of the people are all trying to go to the same places. They can only give out 2 spots to 100 people, so
That's what I
very,
say,
very selective.
just make everything a positive experience. I was talking to these 2 earlier, and they say everywhere they go, they find all the best things to do, all the top 50 things to do while you're there, and they go and explore and do it. And that's a positive outlook on life, because there's some people who can be in the middle of the best place in the world, and they're upset. I don't want to be here. This place sucks. And it's like, if you just go 5 minutes down the road, you can have a great time. Go out and make friends, you can have a great time. But if you sit in your dorm room all day, of course, nothing is going to be fun. So be positive, take advantage of you guys' opportunity where the Air Force sent you. Just explore. You're only going to get that chance one time, and then you come back and have a story. What were you going to say?
Well, Sam Northup, he
Yeah.
got sent to Minot, North Dakota, the most boring Air Force base by most people. He says he loves it up there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Because he's an outdoorsy type of guy, right?
Yep.
So he probably heard somebody negative say, "Oh, you're going to Minot sucks." Oh, ha, ha, ha. But he's really an outdoor type of person, so going out to Minot works perfect for him because he likes to hunt, he likes to be outdoors.
Yep.
So it was really, I told Sam, I was like, "You're gonna like this place because this is for you." Now somebody like me, city boy, Minot's not gonna be.
Up there, you can have like snowmobiles,
Yeah.
4-wheelers, gun laws are super lax. Like people go out and shoot bonfires out in the middle of nowhere. It's just like whatever the environment that you're in, you just gotta adapt to that. So there's gonna be a ton of things that you can do there. It might not be anything you've ever considered doing with your life, but just start doing something new. Like he was saying, like when we went to, I was in Okinawa, Japan for 3 years. My wife joined me after a year and a half, and we did more than anybody else I know there. But we literally had people that would come from Yokota, which is right near Tokyo. And they would, like I knew a guy who was at Yokota for 2 years, didn't leave base, but like 3 times he was there. Literally didn't even go to Tokyo once, and he lived an hour and a half away from Tokyo. Like, if you had the opportunity to drive an hour and a half to go to Tokyo, Japan right now, would you guys go?
I would.
But there are people that'll go there and say, this place sucks, I hate it, and they don't do anything, played video games, then came to Okinawa, Japan, and refused to go off base and do anything. There's so many things. Me and my wife did stuff constantly when we left. Every weekend we were out doing something, and we left going, here's the 50 things we still wanted to do and we didn't have time.
Yeah.
But we constantly were going out and doing it, and you have guys that'll go there and be like, this was the worst place I could have ever been. Like, I just wanted to be in the United States, have like a McDonald's right down the road from me. I mean, they have McDonald's in
Yeah,
Japan
Japan
too, so it's like, but there's like certain things they're just like super picky about, and they're like, this is the one thing I want and that's it. And if I can't have it in my life, like this sucks. And it was
Just
like,
take advantage of anywhere you
be
go.
open-minded.
Yeah, be open-minded. There you
Yeah,
go.
especially because things are going to change constantly. Eat at the DFAC. I don't care if you think it's the worst food in the world. I promise you it's not. Just stop being picky, because I prefer $500 a month in my pocket as opposed to having the option of free food, but I want to eat McDonald's every single day. That's just my opinion. If you want to save money, like I was single in the dorms when we were talking about getting married, and I didn't go out and drink, I didn't go out to eat, I didn't do like anything for like 8 months straight, and I bought a round trip ticket for me, for her, and I paid off her ring all in cash because I chose to eat at the DFAC 4 times a day, which didn't cost me a dime, so I never paid for food.
So the DFAC is like a child hall, just for you.
So people will say like it's hard to save up
Just
money.
for the member.
It's hard to save up money if you want to buy like a new game system every time a new one comes out, and then you refuse to eat at the DFAC. But I don't know, I prefer to have my stuff paid off and not have debt. So if they're gonna give me free food, I'm gonna take it.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of you guys have heard of the new retirement thing that they're doing, it's turned over. Honestly, I think it's a good thing. That's my opinion, because they're gonna match 5% of what you put in. I am not getting matched 5%. I just started doing TSP last year. I already have $2,500 in my retirement, and I started doing it last year. I wish I would have done it when I first joined because I'd have like $40,000 in my retirement fund right now. And it would gain interest on what you have in there. Also, when you get a TSP, don't leave it in the G fund. Whatever you do, pull it out of the G fund and put it in the retirement one, or like disperse it. I disperse mine. There's a bunch of different funds, but it automatically puts you in the G fund. Do your research on the TSP once you get in. Ask your supervisors. That's like something too. Is I get a lot of people that join. They'll get their first base. They'll start messaging me questions when they have their direct supervisor, their supervisor's supervisor. They have other airmen that have been there for a year, 6 months, right ahead of them, that they could literally like knock on their door down the hall and be like, hey man, what's the answer to this question? And so like utilize the people around you, but with TSP, like definitely ask your supervisors, because most of them should be contributing to their retirement. It took me a long time because I was at a base where no one talked to me about it. I showed up in Las Vegas and he was like, you will contribute to TSP. Now he wasn't going to force me to, but he like sat me down and explained it to me. I'd been in for over 3 years at that point. No one had ever explained to me how the TSP worked. So I had been in for over 3 years and not contributed anything to my retirement because nobody talked about it at my last base. Yeah. And he was like, look at this. And he showed me his and he's like, look how easy it is because it takes it right out of your paycheck. You don't even notice it's gone. So right now I'm contributing, I think like 8% of my paycheck to it. And with the new system, they're going to match 5%. So if you're putting in 5% and that 5% is $80, the Air Force after January 1st of 2018 will also match that. So they'll give you a free $80 to put in your retirement. Now you can't use it right now, but you're only paying $80, $160 every month is going into your TSP. So then that compiles over time.
And how soon can they do this?
Immediately upon basic training.
Yeah.
So they won't be able to, he's not going to be worried about his TSP and basic training. That's the last thing he's going to be worried about.
Yeah.
But when he gets to tech school is when he'll be able to start.
If I would have joined and the new retirement would have been in place when I first joined, if I would have started investing right away, 5%, they match 5% on top of that. Basically, I'm only paying 5% of my base pay, but 10% of my base pay is going into my retirement fund. And so at the end of my 6 years, I can take that money and go. And so you can keep it in your TSP if you want, or if you have to do a bunch of different paperwork, but you can take it and put it into a 401k if you get a career, or you get a civilian job that offers a 401k. You just have to do the proper paperwork to take that money out, transfer it, and then you have to give it back to the IRS. Basically, like, here's the paperwork saying it went from one retirement fund to another retirement fund, because if you pull out early on a retirement fund, they charge you a penalty. So that's where the penalty comes into play, but you can take it out and put it into like your new works 401k and do that. There's so many things that the Air Force is going to offer you, and you're like, how many of you guys feel overwhelmed already before you've already left? Like, there's like 100 million things you need to learn and know before you leave. Once you get in, you're going to feel the exact same way. But they give you so many things that you can have that are beneficial. So that's why I always was saying earlier, like, use everything you can to your advantage and use what's going to help you the most, because you're going to have more things to do than you can actually do.
I think a lot of times people joining the military see a lot of the stuff that's on the news, especially with like North Korea and things like that, and think that everyone in the military is going to be like going to war. So what is your experience right now? Like, people see all this stuff on the news, but what are you doing in your like everyday job?
Same stuff we always do. Yeah. I got buddies that are in Korea right now, in South Korea, stationed there. Just everyday, normal, day-to-day ops. It's not, the news has to make a story interesting and shareable, and they want people to talk about it because that's how they make a living. If people aren't watching their stories or listening to their stories, they're not making money. So they have to make it as dramatic as possible. They have to make it as crazy. They're also not the only ones reporting this information, so they have to make it more dramatic than this news station or this news station. So definitely military stuff that you see, I wouldn't really believe a lot of it. Or just know that it's super hyped up and it's not what they make it out to be.
It also will depend on like what job you have, because if you have like a computer job or something like that, you're still going to be doing that. But the people who may have to like go do things like that, like, you're going to know within your job like what you will be doing. Like, if you're like pararescue or something like that, like people like that, of course, are going to be preparing for that. But if you just have like maybe a desk job or something, then you're not really going to be going out and doing something unless like a major world crisis happens.
And when I joined, every day at tech school, North Korea was on the TV every single day. and like we thought we were going to war. Like when I was in tech school, like everybody was so hyped up because we were like, man, we're going to war. It's gonna be awesome. Like we joined the military, we're all fired up. And literally we like go to our base overseas, and they're like, oh yeah, nothing's going on. Like nobody cares. Like it's the news is just hyping it up. And then now it's 2017. The news is doing the exact same thing that they did in 2013. If you go back and watch 2013 newsreels, you see the exact same stuff. North Korea is shooting missiles over Japan, shooting all sorts of test rockets. Same stuff they're doing now. How often do you guys shoot in the military, or how often do you guys qualify? I've been in for I'll hit my 5-year mark in January of this coming year. So I've been in for over 4.5 years. I've shot 1 time, and that was at basic training.
I shot 3 times.
Hey, deployments, you'll get it. I've been in for almost 5 years, never been deployed.
I've deployed twice. There's no telling how you're going to deploy, if you're going to deploy. He's been in 5 years?
Yeah.
And you haven't deployed?
I know guys that joined after me, same job, same bases, been deployed twice already.
Yeah.
You've been in 9, 10, and you deployed to Turkey? Spain?
Turkey,
So
we got Spain.
You deployed to Spain. So there's no telling if you guys are going to deploy and where you're going to deploy to. I know people who've done 20 years and haven't deployed 1 time. I came in my first 4 years, first 5 years I deployed twice. I haven't deployed since the first 5 years.
So it depends on where you're going on your deployments too. A lot of people freak out about deployments. You're going to go there, you're going to have dorms, you're going to have a TV if you bring one, or a small TV. You're going to have a game system because sometimes people bring theirs.
Yeah.
You're going to have internet. You're going to have it's not, everybody makes it seem like it's like such a huge big deal. Like, oh my baby's getting deployed and I'm never going to talk to him again. No, like they're going to be over there. They work 12 hours a day. Then they hit the gym for 4 hours. They go and eat free food constantly. Like most of the guys that we know, like that I know, they would prefer to be on a deployment because they just lift constantly. They just lift weights constantly. They eat food constantly. And they work hard, but they actually feel like what they're doing is contributing to something.
Right.
And my deployment was a fun deployment. Like it's
wasn't
not
crazy.
like the movies when you thinking, oh, get down, you got Charlie all around. It's not like that, right? I'm fixing my planes, or at least back then in my old job, I was fixing.
Now, if you're
planes.
security forces, it might be a little different depending on what duties you get stuck on, or if you're on special teams for that.
Yeah.
But I mean, even then, like some guys will come back that were security forces, and they'll be like, "That was the most boring thing I ever did." Like they're like, "I wanted something to happen because they just wanted to feel like something was going on." But most of the time, like some guys don't want stuff to happen, but some guys are like, "Man, it just got so boring because I expected like constant action." You know, like Hollywood makes it seem. The military is nothing like what Hollywood makes it seem.
Hollywood
No.
makes it way worse than it is.
Yeah. Work out constantly. They just work out and do their job. But I mean, once you get in the military, your mindset becomes like your job is like your number one focus. So like you show up, you do your job as good as possible, you go home. When you get deployed, you just do it more. You do it 6, 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. But it's not what like movies show. It's like it's not Black Hawk Down over here. You know, it's like, so if you want to know about electrical jobs, just look up the ones you have the highest interest in and read what people that are actually in are saying about it. There's going to be people that hate it and there's going to be people that love it. Just like every single job. Like I'm sure some of you guys have had jobs before and not everybody at your job hated it, but not everyone there loved it either. The Air Force is the exact same way. For instance, I don't care for my job. I still show up and do my job, but I don't care for it. There's guys in my career field that hate it even more than I do. There's guys that absolutely love it. They can't imagine. Like one of my supervisors had like sheet metal tattooed on his arm, like his whole arm.
That's his
He's
life.
a master sergeant. He'd been in for like 14 years, and he loved our job like to death. Like that's all he wanted to do. It was like he would go home and do our job at home because he liked it so much.
Never stop.
But and then you have guys that literally are like, this is the last thing I wanted to do. I don't want this job at all. Like I don't have any interest in it. But so be careful when you read those forums. Don't like someone will be like, this is the worst job ever. But it's like that person might want to, I don't know, like blow up balloons their whole life, you know? And they're saying this job stinks, but like you might not have the same interests that they have. So that's something you have to be careful of. Is just everyone's going to say something's bad, something's good. But your interests aren't identical to everyone else's.
I think on the Air Force website, if you go to the job
if
section,
you go
it
to the
tells
careers
you
tab.
where the tech school is for that
Yeah,
job.
that's airforce.com. So they're going to teach everybody as if you're a child and you don't know anything. Even if you do, they're going to teach you like you don't and build you all up. And then at the end, it comes down to who put in the most work. It doesn't matter who was an electrician before. It doesn't matter who was a mechanic before, who had computer experience before. It matters who took the class, learned the information, and did the best. just remember that if you guys are in a job and you're scared, like, oh, I don't think I can do this job, they're gonna teach you from ground up. Like they're not gonna be like, all right, let's start. You guys already know what you're supposed to do. Let's start. No, they're gonna be like, this is a screwdriver. This is a wrench. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, awesome. And the other people are like, oh my
They're like,
God.
Mommy,
Like,
no.
I already know this, right? But I'm like, oh, that's cool. So just be open. Basic training is the only time I say that you can't have a good time. But tech school, you can have a good time. You can have fun in tech school. And you can have real good time in your base. When you guys get to your base, you're having a job. It's 9 to 5 like everybody else. Go to work, go home, do whatever it is that you need to do. These two, when they go home, they work on their YouTube channel. That's how you have so many hits. Putting in that time to make a good YouTube channel so people can see them. Other people may be in a band. Other people may be into sports. They get into some type of CrossFit gym or whatnot, and they go compete at these high levels. Some people play basketball. They go play for some team. Like whatever it is that you want to do with your spare time, do it. Don't just sit in your dorm room and complain about how you can't do anything, because there's so much you can do. Go to work, get off work, go do what you want to do.
A lot of bases will have like the outdoor rec or the Air Force Family Readiness Center will offer like single airman program stuff.
Yeah.
So if you guys don't have family or single, they can give you a hookup for a lot of stuff. So they'll offer trips to places. All right guys, that was the DEP meeting that I attended. The DEP was a lot more shy than I was expecting it to be. Nobody really had questions. I don't know if it was an intimidating factor. There were 3 recruiters in there plus me. If you guys have any questions, be sure to comment down below, because I guarantee you're not the only one with that question. And anybody that reads the comments can also help you if you ask that question. Also, like we said in the video, be sure to do your research, because that is going to be the most important thing. As long as you are researching what you're trying to get yourself into, that is what matters the most. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.